Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I'm the Ancient One. I'm the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I come to you this evening humbly as the voice of the vasectomites. And today, I wanted to continue our ongoing discussion of the vasectomy. And as you know, the vasectomy is the main theme of this platform, which I will repeat over and over again. Indeed, it is the purpose for this platform to not only create a healthy and safe environment where we can discuss how to get and hide our vasectomy, but also to discuss the social implications of doing so in a productive way. But I wanted to approach the issue of a vasectomy from the point of view of delays and procrastination. The Grandmaster of the deceptive arts, Sun Tzu himself, says that while haste might be associated with entering into war, intelligence, cleverness has never been associated with long delays. And this is really the perspective of which I'd like us to have a look at the issue of the vasectomy, and quite frankly, why, and ask and try to answer, quite frankly, the question as to why you haven't got a vasectomy yet when you know that you need it. While procrastination is a perfectly normal human experience, experienced by most people, it can have devastating consequences in reality for you, the bachelor. Procrastinating with small things can be fine, right? So maybe you don't want to exercise today, maybe you don't want to cook healthy, you might sneak in some of that fast food, that restaurant food, right? And you might get away with it once in a while, right? You might have a project that you need to get on, but you could always do it tomorrow. You could be doing it just to gather your strength so that you can act with absolute confidence, right? While those can be fine in small doses, but with major things like getting a vasectomy, procrastination can be catastrophic for you. Because the vasectomy is such a major issue on this platform, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, and the information that we share on this platform is going to be trying to convince you to get a vasectomy and avoid the catastrophe that I'm describing, right? It's no secret that the single purpose of a vasectomy is to prevent you from having children in the traditional way. For that reason, you can freeze your sperm before you get a vasectomy, right? But that's all it prevents, right? Everything else should be normal, right? Everything else should be functioning as usual, minus the major inconvenience of knowing that you are going to be a father one way or another, right? So consider this action. Consider that your inaction, not getting a vasectomy, has consequences. you are delaying the inevitable, right? If you don't get a vasectomy, rather not delaying, you are moving yourself towards the inevitable, rather, right? It's the opposite of delay. You are moving towards the inevitable. And you're not really delaying it. That was really a poor choice of words. You're not delaying the inevitable. You are increasing the likelihood of it happening every single day. With every single day that you don't get that vasectomy, you are increasing the likelihood that you are going to father a child, and then another child, and then another child after that. Usually, most people will have, the average person they say has about 1.6 kids in some parts of the world, right? And in other parts of the world, it's more. So you're probably going to have more than one kid, or at least a chance of having more than one kid. So the longer you delay getting that vasectomy, the higher your chances of having a child, and then the higher the chances of having a child after that. But let's define what procrastination is before we proceed further so that we know exactly what we're discussing and what we're working with. Procrastination is defined as, now listen to this. Now listen to this definition, because this is very important and it's a very pointed definition. It is the act of unnecessarily delaying or postponing tasks, even when there might be negative consequences for doing so. You know, I really like that definition. I'm going to read it one more time. The act, the action, what you are doing of unnecessarily, needlessly, without need, right? The action of needlessly delaying or postponing a task, even when there might be negative consequences for doing so. Now, this is very important, an important definition for us when we talk about the vasectomy, right? Because there's no reason for you why you're not getting a vasectomy. Price is not the issue, right? Because you can pay for it through your medical insurance, or you could just pay up the $1,550, which is really not a lot. You've spent more money. You've spent more money buying drinks on vacation than you would on a vasectomy. Just think about that. You've spent more money buying not just meals, I'm talking about just drinks. If you calculate the cost of everything that you drank over a vacation of 2 weeks, if you go somewhere nice for vacation for 2 weeks and you calculate what you're drinking in terms of partying, restaurants, nightclubs, all of that, you've easily spent $1,550. And $50 more, you could freeze your sperm for $1,600, $1,600. You can get yourself a vasectomy and freeze your sperm, or there might be negative consequences for your delays, right? This definition really speaks directly to the point that I'm trying to make and the situation that I'm trying to describe, and the circumstances around that situation quite accurately, right? When you delay unnecessarily getting that vasectomy and freezing your sperm, you risk very, very highly the negative consequence of having a child, right? Now, if you want to have a child, that's one thing. It's one thing if you say, you know what, I'm going to have a child and then I'll get a vasectomy. Okay, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea, but it's better than nothing, right? If you already have children, you should be getting a vasectomy, right? This is not the time and this is not the economy for you to be growing your family. Freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy so that if you and your wife want to have kids, you can use IVF, because as the time goes, you're probably going to use IVF anyway, right? So just at least now you're one step ahead, but don't let her use IVF, because you're going to end up with 4 extra kids, right? When you only just wanted one, you're gonna end up with four or five extra kids, and you're really not gonna cope with that, right? So yes, there will be negative consequences. You're going to have a child. Really, that's the truth, and it's for men without children, it's something that we have to discuss all the time, right? It's something that we have to discuss all the time. And me as a vasectomite, knowing that I won't have children, it's actually a great honor to provide this option to men who might want some part of this, right? So you might want to freeze your sperm, then get the vasectomy. You might want to have a kid and get a vasectomy. You might already have a kid and then get a vasectomy. But knowing that you have this option, right, can be a huge relief for many men. Knowing that you have this card that you can play and use, can be a tremendous strategic advantage for men, right? So even if you don't get the vasectomy, but knowing that you could, bringing it up in conversations, and I know you won't bring it up in conversations because it's going to be taboo. It's going to be a taboo conversation. But if you bring it up in a conversation, you're going to blow that conversation up, right? It is the strategic move that you want. And if you don't, I want to remind you, like your conscience, right, in the back of your mind, right? I want to be there, like that nagging pain in like that little headache, when you feel the early parts of a headache and you're not sure if it's gonna go away or if it's gonna persist. If you drink a little bit of water, you'll be fine, right? That little feeling, that's what I want to be. I want to be like the conscious in the back of your mind that reminds you that you're going to get that woman pregnant. You are going to get that counterpart pregnant. It is absolutely guaranteed. Just remember that. The idea that you don't mind this is a fallacy. I know that every man is thinking about this, and I can sense a hesitation in many modern day philosophers when it comes to addressing the issue of getting somebody pregnant. And to me, it's becoming quite the conspiracy, right? To me, it's really an issue that I mentioned in passing, but it's really stuck in the back of my mind. Like, how can so many people be encouraging you to do all these things that make you attractive just so that you can go and get somebody pregnant and be like, on child support and so and whatnot? It's really becoming a conspiracy for me. How can so many philosophers be discussing marriage, child raising, child support, divorce, alimony, etc., but not one word about how you get into that situation? Nobody's talking about how you get to child raising or how you get to child support or how you get to that tremendous alimony, right? So they'll talk about marriage, but they won't talk about pregnancy. And there's one reason, or there's a few reasons, but one that comes to me right now is probably because they're all already parents. These people that you're watching online, a lot of the people that speak with authority are people who are themselves older and can hold their own, right? So I can stand on my square. It doesn't matter if I get one view or 1,000 views. I can hold my confidence, and that comes with time and experience, right? So a lot of the people who can maintain and sustain a platform are generally older, which means they'll have children. So these are not teenagers or people in their early 20s. A lot of people that are leading this discussion are much older men. So you know they already have children, right? And they're not going to discuss a vasectomy, right? Even though you can still have one after you have kids. Like there's no time limit on the vasectomy. That's why I can talk about it every day. There's really no time limit. And there's billions of people in the world, and someone is going to hear this message and want to talk about it, right? Um, you know, but the the concerning issue that none of them are talking about, you know, getting these counterparts pregnant, and how that will lead to absolute calamity, right? So especially the ones who have already been in the dark dimension of marriage, they'll come out and tell you everything that's wrong about being in the dark dimension, but not one single thing about what's wrong about raising children. And what they'll tell you about raising children is that the other parent made it difficult. They don't tell you how stubborn and difficult these kids are, really, right? They won't address the regrets of having kids. Now, it's one thing to love your kids, and I get that, but it's another for you to put yourself in a situation where you could make more kids, knowing how difficult it is. It's careless, right? It's quite careless. But what's even more troubling is while they never discuss the problem, right, it ultimately means that they will never discuss the solution either, and the solution that's right in front of them, right? That's troubling. So while they know what the problem is that you're going to get somebody pregnant, right? You're really going to get somebody pregnant. And no matter how you look at that situation, that person is going to be a stranger. If you're 22 years old and you've been dating somebody for 6 months, and you met her when, you know, she's 21 or she's 22 also, and you met her 7 months ago, that person is practically a stranger to you. I mean, there's people that have known that person for a full 22 years. They know everything about that person. You've only known her for a few months, and intimately for a very short period of time. You know, I mean, that person is practically a stranger to you. And you're going to be having kids with a stranger who has completely different values to you. Completely. I mean, her parents taught her some things that your parents didn't even know existed, let alone hid from you, let alone try to teach you and grasp, right? And what they're telling you is that you must go build a family with this person, right? And this is causing your delays and your procrastination, right? Because you have the solution to all these problems, and that solution is a vasectomy, right? The irony of all this is that the manosphere the manosphere as a space is crowded and repetitive, right? So while none of them are really discussing vasectomies and insemination, it's becoming repetitive. I mean, people are just saying the same thing over and over again, right? The same ideas over and over and over again. And too many of these philosophies have been debunked to some extent. They've been denied to another extent, and then the rest were just ignored with absolutely no consequences to the counterpart. Just think about that. Your philosophy is so meaningless that people can just, whatever they don't like about it, so even if you have all the statistics, even if you have all the information and the facts and the statistics on your side, all they have to do is look at those statistics and ignore them. And there are no consequences. No consequences for the counterpart, right? Not even the consequence of pregnancy. Not even the consequence of pregnancy has been able to prevent the counterpart's insidious schemes, right? So even if you get them pregnant, right, she can manipulate laws, governments, and to a small extent the socio-economic cycle of any country to keep funding her existence, allowing her to continue her debaucherous activities, right? This is how sinister the counterpart is. And this is how meaningless your philosophy has become. There's no action behind it. There's absolutely no action behind it, right? It's one thing for her to get inseminated and make you pay for her existence. It's another for her to get inseminated and have no one to pay for that. See, now that's a consequence of bad behavior. But, I mean, so many philosophers are just, your theories are just becoming ridiculous. Your hypotheses are just becoming sad, man. You're talking about accountability to a counterpart. There was somebody who had the audacity to ask a counterpart to take accountability. Okay, let's assume hypothetically the counterpart says, okay, I take accountability. What exactly does that mean? Because when you take accountability, you face a financial penalty or you face a legal penalty. You either pay a fine or you go to jail. That's how you face accountability. There's an action, there's a consequence. For her to just admit wrongdoing is not accountability. It's just another philosophy. Because what difference does it make? If let's say hypothetically a counterpart has an affair and you chastise her for that affair, right? And you don't leave and you want her to admit wrongdoing. What has changed? She admitted wrongdoing. You got the feeling, the sensation that you were right. You're not leaving. And she still has all of the details, all of the context, all of the photos, all of the videos that she kept or made or has shared with the knee bender. What has changed? The request for accountability is ridiculous. You're not gonna, and even if you get it, first you're not getting no accountability, not in a real way. And then even if you get that, she testifies, she admits her wrongdoing, right? Yes, it was me, I was wrong. Then what? You can't be violent. Violence is completely out of the question. We discussed that, right? You touch her, you go to jail, right? She touches you, she should go to jail, right? But that's neither here nor there. That's to be decided, right? But for you, you touch her, you go to jail. This is known, right? So what accountability is there that you can ask for? There's none. There's none, and you need to face the circumstances from that point of view, from just realizing that you have no advantages, right? And you have to know that if the government and business and the socioeconomic tax structure of the country doesn't support her existence, they'll find a way to make you do it. They'll just slap you with that child support for 18 years and be done with it, right? And I can understand why the counterpart doesn't want to discuss the issue of vasectomy, because it works against her interests, right? And it eliminates and neutralizes her schemes, right? So ultimately, this is, marriage is the final frontier, right? So even if it's something that she dreads, she knows that she can get married, she'll be in a marriage for 8 years, then she can divorce and she can get a house, she can get a car, she can get paid for the rest of her life, she'll be fine, right? It's really a system that works that way, right? So it's a small price to pay, but for the rest of your life, she will be getting paid and funded until she gets married again, right? So the only way you get off alimony is if she pays, if another man takes on that responsibility. But the chances is that she and her boyfriend will be living together off of your money, and they'll do that for forever and ever. They'll be together 30 years while you're paying for them to exist. And don't think it hasn't happened. It happens all the time, right? But as for the philosophers, even those with children already, their silence is deafening, and it's a serious issue, and quite frankly, it's troubling. The fact that they know the consequences of having kids, but they're not willing to deal with what comes with those, with what precedes those consequences, which is the action of debauchery and intimacy, right? Debaucherous intimacy, quite frankly, right? Because these kids aren't made with love and care, right? So the issue is that they won't discuss the problem because then they will be hypocrites, because they have children and they will have baby mamas, and they cannot be going out telling people, well, don't get somebody pregnant. Well, somebody will say, well, the people will say, well, you got somebody pregnant, you have kids, you love your kids, right? So why can't we have these kids? Because it's hard. And that's what they won't tell you, right? That's what they won't tell you, is that it's hard. But ironically, however, their unwillingness to address these issues has given me carte blanche and a monopoly, at least in a social discussion, of how this issue of the vasectomy will be discussed, right? Because I'm the only one that's going to discuss this thing openly, right? Well, as openly as possible. I am the master of the deceptive arts, after all. But I'm the only one that's going to discuss this issue on a consistent enough basis, I believe, that at least we can have feedback from each other discussing this issue of a vasectomy, right? But effectively, what they've done is they've left me wide open and retreated themselves into a crowded space. Isn't that ironic? The unwillingness to not discuss the vasectomy has created a completely different market for online discussions. Wide open market, right? Which is male contraception, right? It's really going to be the big issue of the future, because female contraception, they've discussed that issue to death, right, on various scales. But male contraception is a wide open field that, quite frankly, nobody has addressed, right? And of course, you can hear that I'm being cautious and calculated in my tone and in my words and in the philosophy that I preach. Even if I'm preaching the deceptive arts, I'm preaching them from a very well-known manuscripts. I'm not just coming out here insulting people, because that's the fastest way to get banned, right? That's the fastest way to stop a message from rising, is to get yourself kicked off in a platform, right? But I'm over here wide open, right? While everyone is in a crowded market, just think about what they're doing, man. You are spending all day long reviewing videos of these counterparts spewing, vomiting garbage out of their mouth all day long, looking at these TikTok videos. It must be so frustrating. I can only imagine. Personally, I can't even stand it sometimes when they start talking that garbage. I get a headache and I can just pause that video and move on. And you have decided to make your business plan around the nonsense that the counterpart is going to talk. They want a 10-foot man with 10 fingers on one hand and 10 toes on one foot, who makes $10 million in 10 seconds. And you're sitting there listening to these people day after day after day. And here's the irony of it all. Here's the irony of it all. The irony is that all the things that you complained about, all the things that you said you didn't want as a man, all those things have just multiplied. They are everywhere. As soon as the counterpart heard the things that you don't like, and they realize that you are now making videos on all the things that they are doing, they just continue doing it more and more. When you started showing gym videos, it was nothing but gym videos for 2 years. TikTok was full of gym videos, right? Before that, we had never seen any gym videos. And then the manosphere put out these gym videos and said, look at what these people are doing. And then all of them started doing it. Now gym videos are so common, we're so bored with them. We've seen so many gym videos, we're so bored with them. And now it's the 10 feet, the 10 toes, the 10 fingers, the 10 bank accounts, the 10 million in 10 seconds, right? You know who I'm talking about. They have their numbers. Um, and even that's going to get tiring. Even that's going to get boring, you know? And just imagine how many TikTok videos you have to be listening to. I could never spend my entire life listening to counterparts on TikTok. There was a counterpart who had the audacity to say that her adulthood begins at 30. That up until 30, she should be treated as a dependent and a child. Can you imagine reporting on that? I mean, yes, I'm mentioning it now, but can you imagine being the person who has to sit there and analyze this nonsense? And actually take and give serious criticism, and you have to sit there and take this nonsense seriously when you should have just ignored it. Seriously, it is a complete waste of my time and an insult to my intelligence. I'm not doing that. I'm never going to review a single video from a counterpart. You know, while they're doing that, just think about this. They could be discussing a vasectomy, a real genuine solution for men, right? A real form of empowerment, right? You lock away your sperm, and as soon as you find out that the counterpart is up to no good, you're gone, and you take your sperm with you, right? And if you think that for some reason, I don't know why you would believe this, but if you think that for some reason she's the one, you can go ahead and unthaw that sperm and pick the best one and use that one at a time in a controlled, secure, calculated environment. And before that, you can have all the legal stuff lined out, right? Laid out for everyone to understand this is the dynamic that we are engaging in. This is how we're going to pay for this, and this is how we're going to split it up if it doesn't work out. You can have all that discussed up front by making the intelligent move, by freezing your sperm, using modern science to our advantage for once, freezing your sperm and getting that vasectomy, But no, what are they doing? They're watching TikTok videos, listening to counterparts talking about absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. I'm trying to be contained and professional, and I'm telling you, you are wasting your time listening to those TikTok videos. I cannot imagine wasting my valuable bachelor years doing that. Absolutely not, right? But while they waste time on TikTok, you need to be proactive and go get yourself a vasectomy. Go get yourself a vasectomy before you face calamity, as today's article will demonstrate, right? Because once you have those kids, if you're a YouTuber or you call yourself an influencer, a content creator, man, you're going to be reading through, you're going to be listening to each and every single one of those videos. Your headache must be tremendous. Your headaches must be tremendous. I could never waste my time like that. So, without wasting time, let's talk about wasting time. Procrastination. This article was reviewed. It says by Psychology Today staff. It doesn't actually name anyone, but it just says the staff was involved, and it comes from psychologytoday.com, www.psychologytoday.com. And so let's talk about what procrastination is. It says here, everyone puts things off sometimes, but procrastinators chronically avoid difficult tasks and may deliberately look for distractions. So you are deliberately avoiding getting that vasectomy, and you're trying to keep yourself distracted by these TikTok videos. Procrastination tends to reflect a person's struggles with self-control. Yeah, you really need to bring yourself under control. This is what I'm preaching. I'm preaching self-control, right? Procrastination affects your self-control. That's why you haven't got that vasectomy. It's not because you can't. It's not because of price. It's because you are unwilling, right? It's self-control, and I'm calling you out, right? And when you have those kids, I'm going to let you know it's because you lack self-control and you did it to yourself. The Psychology Today staff, they write, for habitual procrastinators who represent approximately 20% of the population, 20%, really, it's that many. I don't feel like it comes to the presidents over their goals or responsibilities and can set them on a downward spiral of negative emotions that further deter future efforts. What this means is you build a habit of not achieving goals, and you build a habit of not accomplishing what you set out to do. Effectively, 20% of the population is like this. Now that I think about it, it should be more. It should be more than 20%. I don't feel like it. I hear that all the time, right? People just do things because they don't feel like it. And it's one thing that leads to another, and then ultimately you have no power for accomplishment. It continues. Procrastination also involves a degree of self deception. There we go, deception, right? Isn't this what we preach here? Deception, except self deception, right? Which is what I call male delusion, when you're lying to yourself about the reality that's right in front of you, right? She's not being right. I mean, the number one tool for a cheating spouse is a mobile phone, a smartphone. She has a smartphone. She's probably cheating on you, and you know this, right? And if you're not accepting this, I mean, this is just another symptom of self-deception, right? You're just lying to yourself. At some level, procrastinators are aware of their actions and the consequences, but changing their habits requires even greater effort than completing the tasks in front of them. Right? So this is true. This is true. Like doing a task can require, between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on the tasks, right? Some tasks take longer, more difficult tasks, more challenging tasks can take longer, but typical tasks don't really require more than a few minutes at a time. A satisfactory workout is only 30 minutes, right? Which is in a 24-hour period is really not that much to ask for. But because you've built a habit of delaying things, in other words, not doing anything, by delaying things, it's going to require a greater effort for you to change that habit and get into the habit of getting things accomplished and done, than it is to actually do the task in front of you, right? So I'll give you an example. Like doing these videos, actually, I'm pretty much doing it live. To be honest with you, it's quite unscripted, and the responses are predetermined. So I'm taking everything from the bachelor and the vasectomite point of view. So I'm gonna funnel everything through that, even though I can appreciate different perspectives, right, and different people's point of views. But I'm presenting a very particular point of view. To do these videos takes as much time as it takes to do the video, right? So the amount of time that you're watching the video, that's literally how long it takes to make the video. So if a video is 1 hour and 13 minutes, it took me 1 hour and 13 minutes to make the video. It doesn't require more effort than that, right? It doesn't require you to do more than what is required to accomplish the task. But changing that mindset, right, will take you weeks, months, but making the video will only take you about an hour or so, right? So it's really about getting your mind right, right? Procrastination starts in the mind. And one thing you have to understand is that you do run out of time. You do miss the opportunity to to make the videos and get your message out there, right? You do miss the time to make your money because retirement is going to come. So you are going to miss the opportunity to make your money, right? If you want to teach lessons and to share philosophy, you have to do that. I mean, you can do it at the right time, but you do need to make the time for it, right? And then you need to execute. It says understanding procrastination. Procrastinators are often perfectionists. They can be, for whom it may be psychologically more acceptable to never tackle a job than to face the possibility of not doing it well. I would like to think of myself as a perfectionist, but also I do understand that there is a human side to things. And ultimately, I found that when I initially was considering putting out this particular type of content, I wanted it to be and feel a particular way. But upon attempting it a few times, I realized that I would never get the effect that I wanted to get without the practice. So the theory is one thing, but there is a skill in practicality. There is a value in practicality. Like there are things that you don't anticipate you will need when you are theorizing. For instance, you don't anticipate having to catch your breath mid sentence. You anticipate that you'll be able to speak effortlessly through the entire video. But as it goes, you build a cadence and a rhythm where even catching your breath becomes a natural part of your speech. But that only comes with action and activity. Remember, action is the only power that can affect reality, right? So there comes a time for theorizing, even as a perfectionist, but that theory is only as good as the execution that comes afterwards, right? They may be so highly concerned, it continues, about what others will think of them, that they put out their futures, that they put their futures at risk to avoid judgment. Some procrastinators contend that they perform better under pressure. No. While they may be able to convince themselves of that, research shows that it is generally not the case. Instead, they may make a habit of last minute work to experience the rush of euphoria at seemingly having overcome the odds, right? So, this is a very interesting section here that is worthy of analysis. It says some procrastinate. Wait, let's go back one step further. They may be so highly concerned about what others think of them that they put their futures at risk to avoid judgment. Preparation is, I believe, the key to confidence. So if you are theorizing and trying to come up with ideas of how you can execute something, the more details you have, the more confident you will be in your information. But I also think that if you are going to be presenting information, as I'm doing, you need information. And that information needs to be relevant and well articulated. So, it's one thing for you to say you're going to make a video and you're struggling to think, what am I going to make a video about? Well, that's because you need something to present. And you can't really just present yourself because you're presenting yourself inadvertently, but you need to be doing something. What are you doing on the camera if you're not doing something? And whatever it is that you're doing, of course you want to do it well to avoid negative judgment. But you're only going to avoid that negative judgment if you are well prepared and your execution is immaculate, right? In that case, you may get some criticism, but you'll probably get a lot of praise for an immaculate execution. But otherwise, if you are concerned of bad reviews and poor judgment by other people, it probably means you haven't been prepared enough. You just haven't sourced your material enough. You haven't perfected your skill enough, and you're not ready to deliver. Right? It continues to say some procrastinators contend that they perform better under pressure. So, yes, okay, but while they may be able to convince themselves of that, research shows it is generally not the case. So, yes, you don't really perform well under pressure. Pressure means that you're going to make, well, ultimately we're all going to make mistakes, but because you're functioning under pressure and in a short deadline, you don't really have time to go back, look over your mistakes and correct them. Right. But making mistakes, especially with like work and academic work, is very common. And you need to be able to go over your work in order to correct those mistakes. And performing under pressure is just going to make you make more mistakes with less time to correct it, right? But while they may be able to convince themselves of that, research shows it is generally not the case. Instead, they may make a habit of last minute work to experience the rush of euphoria as seemingly having overcome the odds. So this is terrible. This is terrible. So you put yourself in a position, this is what they're describing. You put yourself in a position where you face hardship, and then overcome that hardship unnecessarily, and then give yourself credit for overcoming the hardship that you created. That's quite ironic when you should just be doing something that you're prepared for and execute effectively, right? But these are now the consequences of procrastination. And this is what really benders will do. They won't get a vasectomy, right? They'll put themselves in a situation where you're raising two, three, four kids, and then give yourself credit for raising those kids. That I could never understand. I could never understand or justify why these knee benders are always giving themselves credit for raising their kids. I put my kids through high school. I put my kids through college. I provide and protect. You have no choice. You have no choice. If you didn't, they would put you in jail. Right? But now here you are giving yourself credit for something that quite frankly was completely avoidable. You didn't have to have these kids. You could have just got a vasectomy and avoided that 18, 20-year strife that you're going through. But you put yourself in harm's way and then give yourself credit for surviving the same problem that you created. That's just hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy of these knee benders. Next, let's discuss why do you procrastinate, or why do I procrastinate is actually the header. It says procrastination is driven by a variety of thoughts and habits, mostly habits, but fundamentally we avoid tasks or put them off because we do not believe we'll enjoy doing them and want to avoid making ourselves unhappy, or we fear we won't do them well. So, yeah, it's just really laziness. You want to do the things that you want to enjoy, so you put off doing the things that you don't really think you'll enjoy. When real satisfaction will come from doing something well, right? So the more you do something, the better you become at it. But and the more but a vasectomy isn't one of those things. It's the thing you do one time and you perfect it, right? You're never going to get something that's simple for you, where you get it one time and it works perfectly for the rest of your life. You're really not getting anything like that, right? But also, it makes it very clear that what you do is you prioritize your own happiness. So you want to do it because it makes you happy, uh, or or you will procrastinate because you are scared that you're going to fail. In fact, you're probably right. Like if you are if you haven't been successful in your preparations, there's no reason to believe that you will be successful in your execution, right? So if you've been delaying doing work, eventually your fear is justified, because when it comes to execution, you're not going to do it well. So in this case, I would say, yeah, your fear is justified. But your fear comes because you didn't do the work to begin with, right? True confidence comes from preparation. And preparation, real preparation, means having a lot of details before you execute. You have to know what is going to happen and how it's going to happen. You cannot go in and say, I hope people like this, when you yourself don't like it, right? I cannot go in here, I cannot come up here with an article that I didn't enjoy reading and hope that other people will enjoy reading. With an article that I didn't find informative or insightful and hope that other people will find it informative and insightful. It doesn't really work that way, and it never will. You need to have the information that you are confident with, ready to go, and then you need to, you know, deliver that information with the same confidence that you came into it with. And in the same way, it's one thing for people to not like the delivery, it's another for you to fail in making that delivery. It continues here. People may also procrastinate when they are confused by the perplexity of a task, such as filing one's taxes, or when they are overly distracted or fatigued. Yes, so being tired or distracted, you probably just need a break, right? So it's probably better for you to not do something when you're exhausted, because then you're going to make mistakes anyway, right? So you may want to pause there. But also they say that when people are confused by complex tasks like filling in taxes with all those numbers and all those digits. Listen, I told you that people didn't know how to read numbers. I told you that the larger the number, the more difficult it is for people to read. Once you start going over like 100,000, once you start hitting 700,000, people are not going to be able to hit those numbers and read them the way they would, 5 letter words. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that people don't know how to fill in their taxes. Even though, ironically, all the information that they ask you, you should have it already, right? I mean, they're really not asking you something that you shouldn't know. They just want to know how much you make every month. And if you don't know that, I mean, you don't know nothing. You should really have all that. It's like your address. It's really not that difficult. It's your address, it's your tax number, it's where you work, and it's how much money you make every month. That's really it, right? And the other information, sort of, they just ask you what it is and you just copy it in. It's really not that difficult, especially if they have a form. A form means that you don't have to come up with the information to give, right? And what they're probably going to ask you for the documents is probably going to be a copy of your identification, a copy of, your pay slip at work, maybe at best a 3-month bank statement to prove that you're actually receiving a salary from these people, and your address, maybe the address of your employer. What else could they possibly ask for? And you should have all this because you go to that place of work every single day. You receive that salary every single month, and you go home every single day too. So, maybe you don't have your tax number, but I assure you, you're one phone call away from getting your tax number. I cannot understand why this type of information confuses people. I mean, if you can apply for a passport, you can definitely fill in your taxes. It's literally the same information, right? But hey, to each his own. It continues here. Does procrastination serve any purpose? This should be interesting. Procrastination is a self defeating behavior pattern. Listen to that, self defeating. So before they indicated that you have no self control, and now they are showing that you are self defeating. By not getting the vasectomy, you are defeating yourself. Isn't that what I said? I said you've done this to yourself, right? Procrastination is a self defeating behavior pattern, but it can be seen as serving a psychological purpose. I wonder what that purpose is, especially for people with perfectionist tendencies, by protecting the individual against fear of failure, judgment by others, and self condemnation. Again, preparation, preparation, preparation. I have felt these feelings, right? I have felt the fear for failure, especially when you're managing people and you want to be task oriented. You cannot come into in front of people and present yourself and talk about my career, where I worked before, my philosophy of work. Yes, yes, yes. You're getting about 10 minutes worth of conversation after that. Then what? What do you then, I mean, I'm going to come in and say, I'm the Ancient One, I'm the Bachelor Supreme, he who remains, the Phantom Menace, the Master of the Deceptive Arts, and then what? Then what? Right? You need to be task oriented and you need to have a standard, especially when you're managing people. You need to know your job is to make sure that they do their job. And when they don't do their job, your job is to make sure that that job gets done. Right? This is management. This is leadership. And you need to show them. So you are actually doing it while they are doing it. So we're actually doing it together. And what you want to do is at the end of that, you want to make sure that they've done as you have done. Right? So they just gotta copy you. They just gotta copy you. Be like me. Get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm. Get a vasectomy. Do as I did. Right? And get the results that I got. Right? But otherwise, if I had come out here with no vasectomy, with 3 kids, child support, alimony, all of that, and started preaching this, it would come from a very disingenuous place. It would come from a place of I've been defeated, right? And this is not to imply that I haven't been defeated. Goodness, Lord knows I've been defeated many times, right? The path of the Ancient One is riddled with hurdles and obstacles, right? But it is also the duty of the Ancient One to protect reality from the dark forces, right? So this is not to imply that those dark forces haven't defeated me as they've defeated many people. It is to imply that I have a solution. And my solution is a vasectomy. And I offer you that solution now. And I urge you to try and find a better solution. And I don't think you will. It continues here. Avoiding unpleasant work by devoting energy to other tasks like organizing or cleaning also helps procrastinators avoid feeling unproductive, although they will have to pay the price later. So, yes. So, what this means is that instead of doing the job that you're meant to be doing, instead of making those videos and putting them out, what you're doing is you're being busy with inconsequential things. You're over there folding those towels, right? And when you're done folding those towels, you're gonna go shine those teaspoons because you should be putting in that work, right? But you're delaying, right? And you're keeping and you're dissuading your guilt by keeping busy with other meaningless things, tasks that quite frankly don't require much from you, right? They don't require much thinking, much foresight, much concentration, because mental work is very difficult. This is why they're only making 10-15 videos, 10-15 minute videos at a time. It's really not so much to do with the concentration span of the audience. The creators themselves really don't have 20 minutes worth of focus. They could do 10 minutes 3 times a day, but they're not doing 45 minutes 1 hour every day, all day. No way, in a way, because it requires a certain mental aptitude, focus, right, and a certain self-discipline that really will come to you with time and experience, but you do need to have it. You do need to have it. Otherwise, what you're going to end up doing is filling your time in your day with things that make you unproductive. Traveling, going out, things that burn energy and feel good when they burn that energy, but aren't really going to get you what you want. Our next step, by the way, get a vasectomy. Who is most likely to procrastinate? Knee benders. benders. People who procrastinate, research finds, may hold different values than people who do not, knee benders. In studies, procrastinators report valuing personal enjoyment more highly than others do and valuing a strong work ethic less, knee benders, and are more likely to complete tasks they feel are important to them personally than those that are assigned to them, knee benders. They always do this, right? These are the work-life balance people, right? And I'm here to tell you, you're not getting no work-life balance. You need to just let go of that, right? You need to be working, 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 and you need to be doing productive, diligent work, man. You're gonna shoot videos of yourself dancing every single day. For how long? How long are you gonna be dancing for? Okay, fine, fine, fine. If you're a dancer, you're a choreographer, and you're demonstrating new sequences, new complex sequences, blah blah blah. I'm not really of that world. But if it's just you and your wife dancing, I don't mean to laugh, but it be just the other issue that they highlight here is that while procrastinators will do things that they enjoy personally, they will devalue tasks that are given to them and assigned to them by other people to increase the value of the things that they like doing, right? So this is what people who don't want to study and want to play video games will tell you. They'll say, oh, but if I go pro, I can make a lot of money playing video games professionally and compete professionally. You're not making a lot of money playing video games professionally, right? There's no market for that. There's no crowd. Yes, maybe you can stream and whatnot playing the game. Fine, fine. I can see that, but I don't see the growth opportunity for that, right? I really don't see where you're gonna go with that, especially because you could be making the games yourself and making a killing, right? But because you prioritize the things that you like to do, you're going to see a tremendous value in those things compared to maybe going to university until, of course, you face the consequences, right? And this is what they're describing here: avoiding unpleasant work by devoting energy to other tasks like organizing and cleaning. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong part. It says, and valuing a strong work ethic less, and are more likely to complete tasks they feel are more important to them personally than those that are assigned to them, right? This is the key part. And are more likely to complete tasks they feel are important to them personally than those that are assigned to them. So you want to do the things that you enjoy instead of doing the things that you know are good for you, right? So you want to take the risk of getting a counterpart inseminated and pregnant instead of going to get that vasectomy first, right? Because there is an element of excitement that they described in the previous screen, where you enjoyed the euphoria of overcoming a problem that, quite frankly, you created for yourself. This is the same thing here, right? This is you playing video games all day long and being relieved that the teacher didn't fail you, right? Rather than you passing the test, it's really a situation that your teacher didn't fail you, right? And even though they should have, but maybe they see your potential, right? And they believe in you. But ultimately, you cannot keep putting off things that you have to do to try and do things that you like to do. So let's look at what actually does happen when you do procrastinate by looking at the consequences of procrastination. It says here, procrastination may relieve pressure in the moment, but it can have steep emotional, physical, and practical costs. We're talking about consequences, the negative results, right? So while you might feel good in the moment, the bill comes due. You will have steep emotional, physical, and practical costs should that baby come in 9 months. And I'm telling you, if you're not ready for a baby right now, you won't be ready for one in 9 months. Definitely not. I mean, if it's July, August now, that means the baby will be here by February, March. You won't be ready for that baby. You're not gonna be ready for a baby. The festive season is gonna wipe you out. Christmas 2026 is going to be the most expensive Christmas in human history. It is going to wipe you out, right? Students who I beg your pardon, routinely procrastinate tend to lower their grades. Workers who procrastinate produce lower quality of work, and in general, habitual procrastinators can experience reduced well being in the form of insomnia or immune system. And I'm going to try this out: gastrointestinal disturbance. Nailed it. Procrastination can also jeopardize both personal and professional relationships. So, consequences, right? We are talking about, I'm just going to start with the gastrointestinal disturbance. So your stomach is tight, you're not feeling all right, you're not feeling loose, right? You got butterflies in your stomach because your work is late and it's of an inferior quality, right? It also says here, students who procrastinate, lower grades, right? Workers, lower quality of work. This is bad. This is bad if you're working for a company that requires you to uphold standards, right? Procrastinators will experience reduced well-being, so you're not healthy, right? You're not going to be fit when you should start cooking and you delay cooking, and mealtime comes, you're probably gonna order something, right? And that's always bad. um, Insomnia, that means you delay sleeping as well, so you're staying up too late. Oh, this is all bad, right? So you know just get the vasectomy. Start by achieving that, and then work on your sleep. You can sleep after you get that vasectomy, right? And of course, procrastination can jeopardize both personal and professional relationships. You really need to be proactive and active in personal and professional relationships. You really can't take a back seat and have people serve you. When you go to work, they pay you money, they're expecting you to serve them. It says how to beat procrastination if it is at all possible. It's possible to overcome procrastination, but it takes considerable effort. You just have to make a habit of being productive and take serious pride in it. But one thing you're also going to have to do is just let go of your friends. Friends, family, counterparts, relationships, all those things are gonna induce you to be a procrastinator, because you don't need to be a procrastinator yourself. You just need to be with another person who procrastinates. Procrastination is contagious. Really, if somebody is being lazy, it's very unlikely that you will be motivated to work hard, right? And if somebody's just sitting there watching shows all day long, streaming shows and platforms like this all day long, and not exercising or anything, the chances are you're going to do the same thing. Really, the chances are that you're going to do the same thing, and ruin your relationship, right? So what you need to do is you need to create habits, right? Changing a habitual behavior consumes a lot of psychic energy. In other words, it takes a lot of mental work. And mental work can be some of the hardest work to do in the world. You know, reading, receiving information, analyzing information, they're taking the time to think about it and digest it in your own way. It can take a long time, right? Part of the reason why students are actually so skinny isn't because they're broken and hungry all the time, because universities and colleges feed students very well. despite their size, they're really well fed in those colleges. But because they do so much mental work and it requires so much energy, I mean, they're doing mental work 8 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day, and then have to study all night long. So their brain is consistently just burning high levels of energy. So, they do come out, you know, skinnier and healthier looking, right? I mean, they do walk around a lot, but also they sit in lectures a lot, and burn a lot of mental energy. So, mental work can be very difficult, and changing bad habits requires a tremendous amount of mental work. By engaging in high structured regimen of cognitive behavioral therapy is one approach that has worked for many. In short term, some cognitive tricks can help people complete discrete tasks. Sure, I guess. You know, the fear of failure is really what works for me. There's the reward of payment, the reward of money. Money is a tremendous motivator. For some people it's not, but for me it's a tremendous motivator. I've never refused a bribe. I'll take the bribe and reconsider doing what you're asking me to if it's illegal. But I mean, I'm an advocate for not breaking the law. So don't be out there making bribes. Just pay people for their service. It's completely different than making a bribe. But I could never bring myself to refuse a bribe, right? Money is a tremendous motivator for me. But also the fear of consequence is also a big motivator for me. So, the fear of loss, self preservation, knowing that if I'm not being productive, if I'm not getting the job done, it means I'm going to get left behind. So, the fear of failure is real. The consequences of failure is really what I fear, right? So, I don't want to find myself unemployed, homeless, desolate, without money, that kind of thing, without resources to sustain myself. I'm not doing that, right? I've ended relationships with counterparts because I felt that they, quite frankly, diminished my capacity for earning, right? Sitting there thinking I could be making a video. Instead, here I am massaging feet. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So yes, it says in short term, some cognitive tricks can help people complete these tasks. Sure, but what you need is, you just need to accept that work is part of life, right? Work is life, and you need to accept that. How can I stop procrastinating? Studies based on procrastination at work scale, I believe that's the name of a company, which identifies 12 common forms of workplace procrastination. They have highlighted some potential solutions, such as adopting timelines that build in time for delay but not too much, making a personal challenge out of mundane tasks, breaking large jobs into achievable chunks you can celebrate completing, and limiting your access to online news and social media. So, what they're saying is put down the phone and stop watching shows like this and get back to work. um, you know, because that's what we're doing. So while you're watching us work, and I watch a lot of content too, but now that I'm creating the content, the time to watch content really diminishes, right? And the time to create other type of content really diminishes because you're trying to be hyper productive on this type of medium. But in truth, it's very difficult to try and motivate a person who has been a lifelong procrastinator to stop procrastinating, right? So they say that you want to do things that it says such as adopting timelines that build in time for delays. So now you have to accommodate that people are going to delay, right? So I try to be task oriented, like I say. And so I will say, finish the task, however long it takes, whatever the time limit is. Finish the task, and then you can sit on your phone or do whatever. Finish the task, and then you can go get a cup of coffee. you know Now some people, they'll say, well, you're being very restrictive at work, we can't even go get a cup of coffee. I mean, you can go get a cup of coffee, but finish the task. What I won't accept is you drinking coffee and not completing the task. That's unacceptable. So I will treat you with humanity, but I also want the work to be done, right? But how much time do you give for delays? A deadline is a deadline. So even if you say, well, the deadline is 12 o'clock, but I'll give you until 2, that means 2 o'clock is the deadline, right? That means that's the real deadline, right? So what you're expecting is the first people to be done by 12 and the lazy ones to be done by 2. Making a personal challenge of the mundane tasks, that's only going to work with people who are already motivated. So if you say, well, there's a prize for this at the end, those people that are already motivated are going to go for the prize. Those that aren't already motivated, they're just going to want to share the prize with the winner. That's really how the weak function. They just wait for you to do it and then ask you to share with them. They won't go out and get their own. They won't compete. They won't compete because they know somebody's going to lose, right? And if they know that they're lazy, they know that chances are it's going to be them, right? So, yeah, breaking large jobs into achievable chunks can help you celebrate into achievable chunks you can celebrate completing. I don't know about all that. I don't like the idea of having, like, if I have a video to make, right? I won't read half the article and then celebrate reading half the article. I'd much rather complete the whole thing and then avoid that celebration in order to get me to reserve my energy so I can produce again. Celebrations take a lot of energy, by the way. You may seem like a boring person, but for not celebrating your victories, for not celebrating your birthdays and all kinds of things. But those celebrations take up a lot of energy, right? And a lot of time. And if you're trying to be productive, this can be a form of procrastination. This is just you spending energy and time doing things that you enjoy instead of the things that you would like to do. That instead, rather, the things that you have to do, and then you're celebrating, you know, those celebrations, right? Have you ever seen somebody celebrate making a party? Like, look at the party that I made. Give me credit because I can make a party. You spend so much money, you wasted so much time, and you achieved so little with these birthday parties. All you did was decorate a garden and play music for a tremendous amount of time and money, right? And you want credit for that. This is a person who could be doing a real job and earning real money, but instead they're over there wasting money and time putting up balloons, creating a birthday celebration for a 2-year-old child who won't even notice the difference. This is really the reality that we are living in, right? When people are doing these things, just know that they're procrastinating from actually doing a real job, right? This is not productive, right? Birthday parties are not a real thing. And it says, lastly, and limiting your access to online news and social media. Yeah, good luck with all that, right? You just need to be task oriented. Set a goal, achieve that goal, and then go back to social media. Because I know as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to be on my phone, seeing what's happening, seeing update, making memes, and laughing at nonsense, right? But what I will not be doing is watching thousands of TikTok videos, listening to people complain about they want 10 fingers on one hand. Absolutely not. The next screen, how can a procrastinator change their mind? It reads, when people procrastinate, their present self benefits by avoiding unpleasant work, but their future self pays the price in stress and punishment. This is a time travel dynamic. Developing empathy for one's future self as one would for a close friend then can be an important first step to ending the habit, because we're less willing to put a good friend in such a disadvantaged position. This is a layered statement, but effectively they're saying that think about your future. And I always say this, keep the end in mind, right? Think about the future. Think of yourself in, say, 2 years' time. 5 years is a long time. Think of yourself, say, in 2 years' time. How would you like to be changing diapers and folding towels in 2 years from now? From where you are sitting now, with no child, no kids, no problem, no wife, no drama. How would you like your entire life to flip upside down? How would you like to know that yesterday was the last day of freedom that you'll ever experience for the rest of your life? You'll never laugh at a pleasant joke just because you like it. You'll have to be laughing to entertain a child, to entertain a spouse, to entertain family in-laws and such. How would you like to know that feeling? This is what they're telling you here. Because what you delay for yourself now, in terms of vasectomy, you incur in your future self. Right? This is really the time travel paradox that we're trying to show you. What we're showing you is the inevitable outcome. You're going to get someone pregnant and have kids, but you are here right now, right? You are getting a glimpse into your future, right? We are opening a window. We cannot open the door and let you walk through. It's too dangerous, and you may not survive, but you can look through the window of your future and you can see the inevitable outcome. It says here, your future self pays the price in stress and punishment. They urge you to develop empathy for your future self as you would a close, intimate friend that you care for, right? Then can be this can be an important first step to ending a bad habit, because we're less willing to put a good friend in such a disadvantaged position. You are putting yourself in a future disadvantaged position. This is a powerful way to end this video, and I like it very much, because traveling into your past and into your future is something that we're going to do again and again. And looking at your future, it is your procrastination of today that, quite frankly, condemns you into the future. And when we are there in 2036, 2046, and the ancient one will be there, I'm going to go back to these videos. We're going to time travel, because these are timestamps. These are seeds that I'm planting in the future. They will sprout. That's what I'm doing. I'm planting a seed every single day. Every single day is a seed for a tree that will grow into the future. You can see me planting these seeds day by day. You're witnessing it. Because when we are there in the future, we're going to time travel back to this day. And I'm going to tell you, I told you, get your vasectomy. Because this inevitable outcome is what you were destined to experience. This is the facts, right? And your procrastination is only bringing that inevitable outcome closer to you. You're not delaying anything, right? You are barely moving the needle. Barely moving the needle, right? And the deadline will come. And the deadline will come ever so suddenly. You won't even see it coming. Nobody's going to announce to you. Nobody's going to announce to you the way the ancient one is doing it, right? The way I'm giving it to you now. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, by the way, in the future, you're going to be a dad. You're going to have a lot of kids, 3, maybe 4 kids, and it's going to destroy you. Nobody's telling you this, right? Because they cannot see through that window that I'm looking through at. But I can, right? And I'm here telling you with absolute guarantee. And when it happens, you're not gonna be able to see it coming. It's gonna hit you in a way and at a time where you're really not ready for it, and then all this information will come crashing down on you. Because you're expecting it to happen in a certain way and at a certain time, and it's not gonna happen like that. It's gonna happen at the worst possible time. And when you think you're ready to cope with it, you won't be. It's gonna destroy your life. But at least you have the warning. You have the foresight, and you don't have to procrastinate, you don't have to delay. Right? Those TikTok videos aren't going anywhere. And none of these people are gonna be telling you the solution to the problem. They won't tell you the truth. I'm listening every day. I'm watching all your videos. Sometimes I go live with you, and I'll even like your video. I won't hide, right? Well, you know what I mean. I'm still hiding, but still, nobody's gonna talk about a vasectomy. Not for a single day. It's just me, and I'm happy to take this monopoly into my hands, right? I'm happy to handle this monopoly all by myself, but ultimately, you need to do it. You need to take the action. You need to stop procrastinating because it tells you very clearly, right? The cost is punishment. The consequence of your procrastination is punishment in the future. And I assure you, it will be miserable. And they're going to make you smile through it all. They're going to put a tutu on you, man. They're really going to put a tutu on you and a Santa Claus costume. Every day you're going to be Santa Claus. 18 long, glorious years. 18 long, glorious years you'll be Santa Claus for absolutely no reason. And then you wear a tutu on every birthday. A pink transparent one. Tattoos and all. Right? You don't want to be this guy. Get a vasectomy. Save yourself from this indignity. Right? Save yourself from the indignity of the counterpart. Get a tattoo, get a vasectomy, right? Forget the tattoos. There are people who spend more on tattoos than on a vasectomy, which is troubling because it shows you're not afraid of pain. So the pain is not an issue. So you can get all those tattoos, but you can't get a vasectomy. Don't get another tattoo. Get a vasectomy first, right? Stop procrastinating. This is the end of the video. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I will be doing my best to remain consistent and helpful. And we can continue to talk about your vasectomy and the consequences of not getting one, of which there are many. I assure you, if you delay getting that vasectomy, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it because you would have seen this information and you would have heard me speak. Right? So you already know the information. So if you don't get it, it's going to hurt so much more. This is really the benefit that I get. I'm not getting any money from this, not yet anyway, right? So the only benefit I get right now is knowing that I'm right. And the only sport that's in it for me is watching you pretend that I'm not. And when that baby comes out, well, then, both of us will know who was right. Right? When you have that first child, that second child, then you'll know whether you were right or wrong. But until then, it's still 50-50. Right? I'm wrong until the day you die. So if you can live your whole life and not make any kids, then the day you die, I'll admit that I was wrong. You see how that works? See how that works? You have to die to prove me wrong. Right? So you have to go your whole life without no kids. And then I'll say, okay, yeah, he did it. He was right. Congratulations. But until then, it's still 50-50. And I'm putting my bet on the vasectomy. And you're putting your bet on the counterpart, and you're going to lose. Get a vasectomy. This is the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. Thank you again for your time and your attention and your patience. I really appreciate it, and I always will. Have a lovely day.